Okay, you guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to pray to open up, and I just want to, before I pray, let me just ask you all to know this. Informed Parents of California does not condone violence in any fashion, and we want to make sure that you all know that. Anybody who does commit any act of violence today is not with us, and that means they're against us. So just want to make sure you are aware of that. Let's go ahead and go before the Lord in prayer. Father in heaven, we come before you right now as your children, knowing that you exist and that you love us, and that there is a way you want us to live out our lives. And so right now, Father, we pray that you would be here with us, that you would help us to be like you, Lord, that we would be decent and in order as you are a God of order. And so bless us now as we've come together. Unite our hearts, we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well, my name is Pastor Tim Thompson. I'm a pastor with 412 Church down in Marietta, Southern California, also with Our Watch with Tim Thompson. And I've been asked to just open up with the idea of what they're calling spiritual abuse. As a person who lives in a Judeo-Christian mindset, I have these values that I want to impart to my family, a legacy that I want to pass on to my children and to my grandchildren. And that legacy includes those Judeo-Christian values that I have. In Deuteronomy chapter 11, it tells people like me, people with the Judeo-Christian faith, to commit ourselves wholeheartedly to these words of mine. Tie them around your hands and wear them on your neck and your forehead as reminders. Teach them to your children. Talk about them when you are at home and when you are on the road and when you are going to bed and when you are getting up. Write them on the doorpost of your house and on your gates. And so what we do is we systematically train up our children in the way that they should go. We train them up when they're at home. We train them up while we're on the road with them. We train them up when they're going to bed at night, and the moment they wake up, it starts all over again. At all times, I am imparting my values to my family. And for me, those values include living a life that is striving to follow after Jesus Christ. And in Matthew chapter 16, Jesus said this. He says, if any of you wants to be my follower, you must turn from your selfish ways, take up your cross, and follow me. If you try to hang on to your life, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for my sake, you will save it. And what you do benefit if you gain, and what do you benefit if you gain the whole world but you lose your own soul? Is anything worth more than your soul? And so Jesus is saying to give up your selfishness. And that is something I have tried to impart to my children, is that you cannot be selfish. Anybody here ever had a 2-year-old? We always are trying to train up our kids at a very early age to share and not be selfish. Jesus was telling us the same exact thing, and he said this. He says, give up your life for my sake. When we talk about giving up our life, it's giving up our wants, our wishes, our needs, our desires. Why? Because the Christian life is marked as a person who esteems others as better than ourselves. We're always looking out for other people. And that is something I've strived to give my children. Because of this Christian faith, I've laid this groundwork for them of a selfless life, putting what they've wanted aside to help better other people. Now I've shared this with you as a way of setting a little groundwork. And I want to read to you from the California framework that may be approved later on today. In the framework as it is written, chapter 5, for the 7th through 8th graders, students were asked what the different forms of abuse could be in an unhealthy relationship. Students may come up with most or all of the 6 types of abuse that are laid out in it. And the students are assisted in what I would quote here saying, naming forms of abuse students may not know. They are told of 6 forms of abuse: physical, sexual, emotional, financial, spiritual, and technological. Students are then told that spiritual abuse can include abuse related to spiritual beliefs, culture, or an individual's sense of self. And if they are not allowed to do the things they enjoy and that build their sense of self, the relationship is unhealthy and be considered abusive. Let me repeat that one more time, what is in the framework that may be approved later on today. That if children are not allowed to do the things that they enjoy, I don't know about you, I can only speak for myself, but there were a lot of things that I enjoyed as a teenager that I was not supposed to enjoy. And my mom and dad were very quick to let me know, Tim, that is not good for you. Imagine empowering children to say, you know what, if you've got somebody telling you you're not allowed to do something you enjoy, they're spiritually abusing you. This is unhealthy language to be sharing with our children. Now, many of you today share the same Judeo-Christian values that I have, but I have to recognize this, that not everybody does. But as loving parents, we do all hold one thing in common. That is the fact that we care about our children more than anyone else on this earth. We love our children more than anyone else on this earth. We have been systematically training up our children to know, to trust, and to live out our family values. Another thing we all have in common is a push within the California public education system to systematically undermine our authority as parents, to systematically undo what you and I have spent years trying to accomplish with our families, to systematically indoctrinate our children into a way of living that is contrary to our family values. And it is for that reason we stand today against the approval of this rotten, disgusting framework. And to the California Board of Education, we all say, not on our watch. Right. Not on our watch. Right. At this point in time, I want to invite somebody up. Senator Jeff Stone, he was elected to represent the 28th State Senate District in 2014 and re-elected in 2018. The 28th District stretches from southwest Riverside County, Temecula, Marietta, where I hail from, and Lake Elsinore, across the Coachella Valley and all the way to the Arizona border. Senator Stone has lived in Southern California his entire life. As a state senator, he embraces the philosophy of a fiscally responsible and more efficient government that is less intrusive and more productive for its citizens. Public safety is a top priority of his, and Senator Stone is a consistent supporter of law enforcement agencies and the rights of crime victims. As a small businessman himself, Senator Stone has been a champion of the business community, supporting legislation to reduce the onerous regulations imposed on large and small businesses that are the backbone of California's economy. In 2018, Senator Stone became a resident of the Coachella Valley, moving from La Quinta with his wife, Regina. The couple has 4 grown children. Please help me welcome up Senator Jeff Stone.
Thank you, Pastor, and I'm honored to have you as a constituent in my district. And you should all be very proud of Pastor for being here today. And I want to thank you all for coming out here today. It's not easy on a Wednesday morning when you have kids to get to Sacramento and to see democracy in action and having you come here to appear before the State Board of Education as they are going to be addressing the health framework, which will be considered today. And I appreciate all of your signs, and I hope that after you're through with the State Board, that you're going to come over in front of the Capitol so that my colleagues can see that you're here today. And they can get the message that sometimes the legislation that we pass here in the state capitol is not good and has many unintended or intended consequences. And sometimes we don't learn about it as constituents, as taxpayers, until the implementation of those laws. So I don't think I'm alone when I say that there is a place for sex education in schools, but I've always believed that it should be an opt-in rather than an opt-out. Especially when the kids reach middle and high schools and they're starting to question their changes in their bodies that comes with adolescence. Sexual education, as it's taught today, focuses on the human reproductive system and helps understand the changes of their bodies as puberty advances. Our kids should have information about pregnancy and certainly the consequences of having unprotected relations. I also believe that we should be talking about abstinence as a method of birth control and the warnings, the dangers of sexually transmitted diseases, HIV and AIDS. But this new health framework, my friends, the state wants to force our parents to put our kids through. It is an education. As one of the signs says, and as a part of my notes, it's indoctrination.
Yes, that's right.
It's about trying to transform our society. It's pure and simple. The information our state board seems to want to give our 3rd and 4th graders is too graphic to be shown on the nightly news. And why, my friends? Why are we robbing our children of their youth? This is the last thing they need to learn about when they're in the 3rd and 4th grade. Across our country, parents, churches, civic organizations, and other parental groups are standing up against what is known as comprehensive sexuality education. And that's why you're here today. You are a microcosm of this movement that is moving across our country to abate these very liberal laws and liberal policies. But you're here today to let the Board of Education know that these are your children. These are not their children. These are your children. And the board should reflect your values and your morals. Decisions on what should be taught in our local schools should be governed by your input to our local school boards, not the State Board of Education shoving their policies down at our local school boards in the way of mandates and regulations. So I want to thank you for being here today, for caring for our children, and just know that legislators are listening. They need to see you in front of the Capitol. Make sure you hold them accountable for your votes. And you know, my friends, you mentioned, the pastor mentioned I have 4 kids. My kids are 4 adults. So this doesn't pertain to them. But I ran for office, not just for my kids, but for my grandkids. I had twin granddaughters born last week. I have 5 grandkids. And I'll be darned. I wanted to use another adjective, but it wouldn't be appropriate on TV. I'll be darned if we're going to be teaching this kind of curriculum when they go to the 3rd and 4th grade. So I'm on your team from here on out. So God bless you.
Well, at this time, I want to invite up a wonderful woman. Her name is Linda Cohn. She's a retired teacher who coached debate and taught English and speech in the Fullerton Public High Schools for 32 years. Linda knows firsthand the negative impact frameworks like this will have on student and teacher alike. And prior to this event this morning, I was talking to her. She said the only thing that's holding her back right now is her age. For those of you that know her, you know that that's really not holding her back. Please welcome up Linda Cohn.
Thank you, Tim, and good morning, everybody. Do you realize what Sacramento would be like if everybody were like our previous speaker, Senator Stone? Imagine that. Imagine. We could make it happen, and that's part of my presentation. I want you to know I am an extremely ordinary person, and I want to remain that way. It's safer to be ordinary in the world that we live in. But I also want you to know that I consider myself uniquely privileged to live in the United States of America. I want you to know why our nation is so extraordinary and unique, because this is what you have to teach your children. First and foremost, our nation was founded by forefathers on the belief that our rights come not from man, not from the government, not from the king. Our rights come from an almighty creator God. Teach that to your children. That's what makes America special and unique. There is a second very unique aspect to this country, and that is our system of public schools and our commitment to provide free education to all children, even if they are not citizens of this great country. And I was privileged to be a teacher in that system for over 32 years. But I ask you, as I've asked myself, am I not witnessing a slow dismantling of our country and our schools by people and organizations who have unlimited power and unlimited money, Let me describe them as I see them. Their agenda is not national, it is global in nature. It is also radically leftist and fundamentally anti-God, anti-American, and anti-family. That's what I see happening in our country today. And this is what I see in Sacramento today. So I come here to deliver a very sarcastically tinged thank you, Sacramento. Thank you for the role that you have played and are playing in the dismantling of my beloved country and my schools and our families. Today, the California Board of Education will do exactly what the Instructional Quality Commission did back on March 28th. They will listen politely to us, and they will adopt the framework unaltered and intact. How in the world are we going to stop this? The only way we can stop this is by fundamentally altering Sacramento's power. You already know something that we all need to know. Your neighbors, your friends, every Californian needs to realize Sacramento is entirely in the control of one political party, surrounded and supported by organizations who share the agenda of that political party in control. And so strong is this control that the overwhelming supermajority of legislators, unlike Senator Stone, show little or no interest in considering any point of view that challenges their agenda. They have politically appointed committees and faceless bureaucrats that go through the motion of listening to us and then a few minutes later vote in laws and approve frameworks that are entirely contrary to our basic values. Hundreds, if not thousands of us have given feedback on this framework. And yet tomorrow, it will be passed. It will be passed. And yet when we go home, what do people tell us? Well, you need to go to Sacramento. I am telling you that Sacramento is an impenetrable wall. Unless, of course, you speak the language of the ACLU, CTA, Planned Parenthood, and a host of other organizations. Those of you who are out there already probably know this. You're concerned about comprehensive sexualization of our children and the erosion of parent values. And you've already asked yourself this question probably, am I voting my values? And if the answer to that is no, then vote for candidates who will listen and stop this assault on our children. Change Sacramento. But you need to also realize that millions of voters are going to have to join you in this effort. And I don't know, I honestly don't know whether or not we can count on this happening. That's why we must do something more to dramatically alter the power that Sacramento has over all of us, particularly our children. Because we have something that Sacramento needs to carry out this agenda. You know what that is. Our children. We need to remove them from the public schools, from the agenda, from the indoctrination. We need to take our children out of public schools to protect them not only from the mental indoctrination, but from the physical assault that is likely to occur from the sexualization of a student population. Please, please ask yourself, is there anything else short of taking our children away from Sacramento's agenda that will help change? The bottom line is this. We need to fundamentally transform Sacramento before Sacramento fundamentally transforms us.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Right now I've got a tremendous honor of introducing somebody that I grown to know and love and care about because he's a godly man. That's my take on this. Now let me read to you what I have to read on this. Senator Mike Morrell represents the 23rd Senate District in the state legislature, which encompasses much of the Inland Empire region of Southern California. He was first elected to the State Assembly in 2010 before coming to the Senate in 2014. Senator Morrell and his wife of 41 years, Joni, a lovely woman, believe it is their duty as parents and grandparents to leave our state and nation a better place than they found it for future generations. These priorities have informed Senator Morrell's time in office. Now, I added below. Morrell introduced a transparency bill, SB 673. Remember those three numbers, 673. That would mandate sex ed lessons in elementary school be put online for easy parent access and a requirement that schools get parent permission before teaching elementary school kids comprehensive sex education lessons. This is a great man. Please welcome up Senator Mike Morrell.
Well, good morning. First of all, I want to say it's good to be here. You know, let me reword that. It's great to be out of that building over here and with people who are normal. So thank you. Appreciate you guys that you care about your kids, right? So here's the thing I was thinking about what to say this morning. Let's just say all of us have saved a lot of money. We go to our bank each month, right? And we put this money in, and 20 years later we want to go to the bank and ask how much of our money do they have. And they say, well, we can't show you that, you know. It's none of your business. Isn't that what they're doing at the Department of Education in the building here? And how much more precious are our children, ladies and gentlemen, than our money? And so I'm grateful that you're here because, folks, we have to take back our state and our country. A couple of reasons why. Number one, that's what the founders had intended it, like this young lady said here earlier. We got to remind the people in this building that they're not our master, but they're public servants, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. And remember, we're supposed to be a government of, by, and for the people. And the most important person, even in the scriptures, that are supposed to raise their children are the parents, not the Department of Education or the legislators in California. So what I did on this bill, it's not everything I want to accomplish, but it's two things. Number one, it has an opt-in, not an opt-out. And there's been a lot of confusion. So here's how it'll probably work with their opt-out. Your kids see the curriculum, they come home, maybe they'll be a little, freaked out, and then they explain to you what's in that curriculum, and then you go to the school through a lengthy process and try to, sign all the forms to opt out. So what my bill does is said before any of that happens, number one, we want all that material not to be hidden in, cloaked in secrecy and darkness, but we want full disclosure. We want that material available online to the parents with everything on it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And it's got to make you nervous when these legislators and the Department of Education doesn't want to do that, right? And so that's part of what you guys are doing, is taking back our state. We've got close to 20,000 people that have signed a petition, but we need to gin this up even more. We're going to submit this bill in January because I do think there's a movement coming. I've been asked to speak at a lot of places on this bill, but it's just not about this bill, ladies and gentlemen. It's about the people taking back our state, because I will say this: we're the first nation in all of history, where the first paragraph of the Declaration of Independence says we're governed by consent. We give our consent on who we want to be elected, and the bills that should be coming across our desk. And again, parents should be in control, and so that's what my bill does. Is number one, we want full disclosure. We want that entire curriculum available online. I think that's fair and reasonable, don't you? And then once the parents make the decision, not the legislators here or the Board of Education or the Department of Education, but then we want parents to decide whether or not they want to opt in or opt out their child. Wouldn't you agree with that? And so lastly, let me say this. We've got to really work hard to take back our state, right? Not this bill, but other bills. And here's why. I am convinced, as the saying goes, as California goes, so goes America, right? And so, ladies and gentlemen, California is a battleground for the soul of America, and we have to stop all these bad things here and get back to common sense laws that favor the people and not the bureaucracy. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time.
All right, this next speaker, you guys are in for a treat. Brenda Lebsack is a board member for Orange Unified School District. How about that? A board member is coming out to speak to you all. She has been a public school teacher for 25 years. She was an elementary teacher in Riverside County, a special education English teacher in middle school and high school, and now teaches adapted PE in Orange County. She and her husband pastor a church in Anaheim, California. They've been married for 33 years and have 2 grown children. She has been involved in the sex ed fight for 2 years. She has been a champion for parental rights on the issues of sexuality being taught in schools. She is fearless. That is an understatement. When many school board members can hardly find the courage to say anything. I've found that when they say anything, it's usually a lie. But she's telling the truth, and she's fearless. So only California had more school board members like her. Please welcome up Brenda Lebsack.
Can I ask a big favor that you just take a couple steps forward because you feel too far away? I want you to listen intently because I'm going to say some things today that are very informative that are going to reveal some corruption of the California Department of Education. As a teacher and a board member, I've discovered some things that are unbelievable, deceptive, and I'm going to tell them to you today. I've been a public school teacher for over 25 years. I love children. I love my job. I love people. I'm here for love, not for hate. That is why I took the day off, jumped on a plane, and made it here today. As a teacher and a mother, I will do everything in my power to protect children and stand for parental rights. The California Department of Ed says the purpose of the 2019 health framework is to provide guidance to teachers and administrators on how to teach the health standards. It guides us how to create a more inclusive school environment so all students feel comfortable at school. So how does the California Department of Ed guide us to achieve more inclusive schools? One way is to teach non-monogamous relationships, starting in 7th grade. Having more than 2 people in a romantic or sexual relationship amongst other setups is considered inclusive. That's supposed to keep our kids safe from HIV and STDs, multiple sexual partners. The CDE also affirms polysexuality, pansexuality in Chapter 6. The gamut of genders and sexual practices are celebrated as safe and inclusive. You know this, right? Another way the California Department of Ed guides us, they are our guides, to be more inclusive is to introduce pre-kindergartners through 3rd grades to gender spectrum. The framework guides us to teach them that gender is a choice of unlimited, not to be defined by 2 biological genders, because that is non-inclusive. The Who Are You book in Chapter 3 of the framework teaches kindergartners that they can have many gender choices. They can be boy, girl, both, neither, trans, genderqueer, non-binary, gender fluid, transgender, gender neutral, agender, new choice, bigender, 3rd gender, 2-spirit, and more. And teachers should use gender neutral pronouns such as they, them, or theirs in order to be more inclusive. Thank you, Department of Ed, for your amazing guidance on how we as teachers should fully confuse and psychologically harm our youngest and most vulnerable of children. The framework states this gender identity book is for parents to use with their children at home. However, and this is where I want you to hear, in April 2018, the Department of Ed offered all California districts a free digital library. The database, teachersbooks.net, includes this book, Who Are You?, with lesson plans, assisting teachers so they can teach the gender spectrum through English, language arts, and social studies, with nonfiction reading circles. But wait, I thought this was a health framework. It is. However, the Department of Ed does not limit gender indoctrination to health. Core academic subjects are impacted as well. The framework combined with AB 329, the California Healthy Youth Act, is the perfect formula of forced indoctrination to captive young audiences. Ed Code 51932B states, parent notification is not required and opt-out is not allowed for gender identity and sexual orientation teachings. The Department of Ed says these teachings will stop bullying and harassment. But my common sense as a teacher says teaching kindness towards all will stop bullying.
Right.
Take note, Department of Education. Teaching controversial gender ideologies and sexual deviance while removing parental rights will not stop bullying. However, it may start an educational revolt and an exodus out of public schools.
Yes.
The vote of this framework happens tomorrow. Yet the Department of Ed already implemented these materials over a year ago through free digital libraries. This act of generosity to California school districts was in reality a deceitful way to push this agenda into our schools before the adoption ever was completed. That's corruption. That's absolute corruption. The Department of Ed says their goal is inclusion. In fact, an entire chapter of the framework talks about access and equity. Chapter 7 says this: California's youth bring vast cultural and linguistic resources to their schools from their homes and communities. This is true. They represent diverse ethnic and religious backgrounds, and it is important to acknowledge these diverse perspectives. Equitable education access must be ensured to our English learners. But if this is true, then why did the Department of Ed exclude all non-English speakers from participating in the 60-day statewide community input process by only providing the framework in English? Multiple lingual groups of parents requested the framework be provided in their mother tongue, but the Department of Ed denied them. And I have evidence of this through emails. Does the Department of Ed really value diverse perspectives of those with varied ethnic, cultural, and religious backgrounds? Or do they only value them when they quietly comply to their authoritative directives? There are 10 million immigrants in California. 1/2 of California children have at least one immigrant parent. 1/3 of our state are foreign born. However, the Department of Ed muted the voices of Arabic Muslims, Spanish-speaking Catholics, Chinese Buddhists, Korean Protestants, Vietnamese, Indian Hindus, Romanian Christians, Filipinos, Pacific Islanders, Hebrew Orthodox Jews, Slavics, and many more. Does the Department of Ed think these immigrant parents care less about their children's education than English-speaking parents? Their hypocrisy is astounding. This discrimination and marginalization will not be ignored, especially when fundamental core values and cultural values are assaulted. We are Americans. We stand together no matter culture, language, religion, or color. The love for our children bonds us together, and we will fight in solidarity for their protection and for our parental rights.
How many of you wish we could just clone her and put her on every school board in California? Well, listen, right now I want to invite up Dr. Mike Kuiper. He's a licensed psychologist in California. He's been so since 1995. Dr. Kuiper has a private practice in Redding, California. He holds his MS in research psychology. There you go. All right. Emphasizing marriage and family counseling, and PhD in clinical psychology. Dr. Kuiper is a member of the Alliance for Therapeutic Choice, which publishes the Journal of Human Sexuality. Please welcome up Dr. Kuiper.
I'd like you to think back a minute when you were a kid. Do you remember times of high anxiety? Did you ever feel horrible because you didn't fit in or you were teased? Not got invited to a party? Did you ever feel like a loser? How about this one? Ever believe that something was really wrong with you? I did. I can recall lots of times when I was full of anxiety, strange ideas, and self-doubt. Next question, was there anybody to talk to about any of these things, to test out your feelings and your thoughts? And do you still have those kinds of feelings and thoughts. Part of this health framework carries a couple of important notions: that kids' feelings matter, and that every child needs acceptance. Another part is more subtle but really dangerous: that children's feelings and thoughts about themselves must be affirmed as reality. If a 5-year-old tells the teacher he's really a girl, he's really a girl. Now, a good definition of mental health is found in the term psychological adjustment. What we mean is psychological adjustment to reality. Now, some of my patients struggle with what we call reality testing. They actually hear voices, sometimes see things, and to them that is reality. Their perception is real. But what about a child's perception of reality? Did you know that children are highly suggestible? As any hypnotist will tell you, some people are more suggestible than others. Now, a central factor in child development is the concept of concrete versus abstract reasoning. And we know that the prefrontal cortex is necessary for higher thought processes, but is not fully developed until into the 20s. To suggest to a kindergartner that their gender depends on what they feel, or that some people can be born in the wrong body, creates incredible confusion and anxiety. 5- and 6-year-olds don't even assume a boy grows into a man or a girl into a woman. When they see a man dressed in a woman's clothes, they may actually believe he changed into a woman. Teenagers, they don't know, I don't know about you, but teenagers, when I was a teenager, they don't always think things through so well either. For example, they tend to be subject to what's called social contagion, highly suggestible to peer influence. Now, the recent appearance of rapid onset gender dysphoria illustrates this. The other day I was reading in a teen magazine about a thing called Snapchat dysphoria. Apparently, kids get really upset when they see themselves, and so they want to change their appearance. The simple wisdom that someone offered was this: maybe talk to somebody, get some counseling before running to the plastic surgeon. Now, parts of this curriculum actually can have the effect of suggesting to children that their gender may not fit their body, and confuse kids. If they declare that they belong to the opposite sex, that must be affirmed. This is true in spite of the fact that 75 to 95% of cases resolve to their natural gender when the approach is simply taken to watch and wait, but not affirm. On the other hand, there's a thing called confirmation bias. Grown-ups may think they are affirming a kid's true self. In fact, they help set the stage for a lifetime of conflict with the reality of their own true body. First, the child is encouraged to wear clothes and declare a name that points to a different body. Later, hormones are given that are not FDA approved for this use. Taking puberty blockers and opposite sex hormones carries huge health risks, including dangerous blood clots, increased risk of heart attack, diabetes, and cancer. Aside from the irreversible sterility, when these medications are started early in puberty, there's permanent sexual dysfunction. And did you know that young females in California are already having breasts removed at age 13? In males, healthy testicles are removed and penis is turned inside out to make a false vagina. It's also true that regret and detransitioning are not rare. Post-transition patients have a completed suicide rate 19 times that of the general population, and this is data from Sweden, which is strongly LGBT affirming. To oppose this curriculum does not make us people of hate. We care and listen to children's feelings. Most kids with gender dysphoria have underlying emotional problems that need to be addressed. But we also care about reality, and growing up is about adjusting to reality, whether it's bedtime or the reality of your own body. Ultimately, simply to affirm a child's conclusion that they have the wrong body or the wrong mind is to affirm that, yes, there is something wrong with you. No science backs this up. The child who is uncomfortable in his own skin doesn't mean his skin is wrong.
That's right. Good point.
And when medical doctors race to start puberty blockers and mess with a child's anatomy long before that child has the cognitive capacity to give informed consent, these doctors may face what one pediatrician suggested will be an army of medical malpractice lawsuits. There are aspects of this health curriculum that I believe in years to come will be seen as nothing less than educational malpractice.
Incredible, incredible. You know that a doctor in Los Angeles, Children's Hospital, Los Angeles, got a $5.7 million bond. In other words, you are all paying for it. $5.7 million to inject male hormones into girls as young as 8 years old. It's just incredible what's going on. This next speaker is fired up. Any Hispanic mamas here? All right. Well, I'm going to introduce another Hispanic mama up here. America Figueroa is a Mexican immigrant, a woman of faith, a mother of 5, an early childhood educator, publisher for La Presencia Hispana. I'm saying that wrong, aren't I? All right. And Hispanic spokesperson for the Informed Parents of California. She currently lives in the Coachella Valley. Please welcome up America Figueroa.
Hi everyone. Hola, ¿cómo están? I don't It's really nice to see so many people, multicultural group of people. Es muy bueno mirar a tanta gente, un grupo multicultural, multiétnico, multi-ethnic group in here. So I'm happy, not just Hispanics. I wish I could speak more languages. No solamente hispanos, pero quisiera hablar más idiomas. We're talking about the health education framework, which is about to be adopted. Estamos hablando sobre el marco de referencia de salud que está a punto de ser adoptado. Why are we against that document? Why are we against that framework? ¿Por qué estamos en contra de ese documento? ¿Por qué estamos en contra de ese marco de referencia? For many reasons. Por muchas razones. Some of the reasons were already mentioned. Algunas de las razones ya fueron mencionadas. I remember when one of my nephews was little, he was in his 3s, probably. Yo me acuerdo cuando uno de mis sobrinos era pequeño y tenía más o menos 3 años. He said he was a dog. Él decía que era un perro. And he will bark and lick you and everything. Y te ladraba y te lamía. And every time he did that, my sister will remind him, you are not a dog, you're a boy. Y cada vez mi hermana le repetía, tú no eres un perro, eres un niño. Okay, for a good 6 months, or probably close to a year, por unos buenos 6 meses o casi un año, he kept acting up as a dog. Él siguió actuando como un perro. But my sister, instead of affirming that, en lugar de que mi hermana afirmara eso, he always refocused him into what he is, his identity, a boy. Siempre ella reenfocó su identidad de un niño. Okay, this framework is telling us that no matter what the child thinks at what age, we are to affirm and the teachers are to affirm that identity. Este marco de referencia dice que no importa la edad que tengan los niños o lo que piensen que sean o quieran ser, hay que afirmar en vez de redirigir a lo que verdaderamente son esos niños. Now, we're in Sacramento. Why are we here? Why are we here once more? ¿Por qué estamos una vez más en Sacramento? Because we have been to the schools, we have been to the districts. We came here, we went back. Porque hemos ido a las escuelas, a los distritos, venimos y regresamos. Something has to change. Algo tiene que cambiar. I'm still hopeful in regards to the framework. I won't give in until the last minute. Todavía tengo esperanza en referente al marco de referencia. No me voy a rendir hasta el último minuto. I still have faith. Aún tengo fe. So do not get discouraged. Because even if it gets adopted, porque aún si se adoptara, that won't stop us. No. That will not make us stop. Eso no nos va a hacer que nos detengamos. Yes. We left the Coachella Valley last night. It was a long drive, okay? We came in 4 vans. Vinimos del Valle de Coachella, del Valle de Imperial, en 4 camionetas.
Thank you.
A lot of the people who had signed up last minute, they said, no, we're not going. But we still came. Alguna de la gente que se había anotado al final dijo, no vamos, pero de todas maneras vinimos. And you know what? I think that those who are here today, on a Wednesday, on a work day, aquellos que están aquí en un miércoles, en un día de trabajo, we are showing that we can go far and beyond for our children. Estamos mostrando que podemos ir más allá por nuestros hijos. Ahora es tiempo de poner atención. It is time to pay attention. Look at those who started this off. Look at those who put AB 329 in place. Ahora es tiempo de poner atención. Miren a aquellos que empezaron todo esto. Miren a los que pusieron la AB 329 en su lugar. Look at them. If you are their constituents, make them accountable. Si ustedes son sus constituyentes, háganlos responsables. Exíjanles. And be wise next time you vote. Y sean inteligentes la siguiente vez que votan. Right now we're going to go to the Department of Education in a little bit. Vamos a ir en un rato más al Departamento de Educación. And we're going to do the same thing. Y vamos a hacer lo mismo. They are still public servants. Ellos son servidores públicos. And we are the people. Y nosotros somos el pueblo. And we, the people, deserve better than what they are trying to give us and to give to our kids. Y nosotros merecemos más que lo que están tratando de darnos a nosotros o a nuestros hijos. Vamos a ir a decirles que con nuestros hijos no se metan. We're going to go and tell them, you don't mess with my kids. And you know why? Because we won't stop up nothing to protect them. Porque no nos vamos a detener ante nada para protegerlos. I'm just going to a quote really quick. And then I'm gonna leave room for the next person. Nomás les voy a leer algo. Y dice, I'm gonna read it in Spanish first. La primera enmienda no fue escrita para proteger a la gente y sus leyes de puntos de vista religiosos. Fue escrita para proteger esos valores de la tiranía del gobierno. Now in English. The First Amendment was not written to protect people and their laws from religious values. It was written to protect those values from government tyranny. That was President Ronald Reagan. Let's start a parent revolution if that's what is needed.
All right. Next up, we've got Matthew McReynolds. He is the senior staff attorney of Pacific Justice Institute. He then joined Pacific Justice Institute in early 2005. Prior to that time, Matt gained practical experience in defending religious liberties by clerking for the American Center for Law and Justice. During law school, he also was awarded first place in the prestigious Pew Scholarship Writing Competition sponsored by the Alliance Defense Fund. Matt has been actively involved both in litigation and in counseling countless churches, ministries, and individuals as to their religious freedoms. He feels privileged to work with the Pacific Justice Institute clients who are changing the world around them through compassionate outreaches to the needy and bold proclamation of their faith. He is honored to be playing a role in advancing the Founding Fathers' vision for a free society that values religious liberties. Please help me welcome up Matthew McReynolds.
All right. Well, those are some really tough acts to follow, so I'm going to keep it as short as I can here. But I just got to say, first of all, I am so encouraged by every one of you who are here today. God bless each of you who drove long distances to be here. Can we just give them a hand? That's just incredible. I remember Pacific Justice Institute has been involved in these battles for parental rights and for sex ed for about the last 22 years. and we've seen a lot of ups and downs in that. We've developed a lot of resources on that. If you don't have our resources yet on this, like our question and answer about the Cal Healthy Youth Act or the letter we send to the state board, please either see my assistant who's here, who has some copies of those, or go to pji.org and make sure you're taking advantage of our resources, our parent opt-out forms, and so on. I gotta say, about 6 months ago, I was down here for a meeting at the Instructional Quality Commission on these frameworks. It was Greg Burt and it was me speaking out against the frameworks. And I know before that, a few others of you had come up for a previous hearing. But from the two of us that were there on that day to the countless numbers of you who are gathered here today, the movement is growing, the movement is gaining, and it's just so encouraging. Be encouraged. We face overwhelming odds, but we are growing and we are making our voices heard and making a difference. Let me say, too, to our friends in the media who are here today, first, thank you for being here. Thank you for covering this event. I read an article earlier this week that talked about this gathering. It said we were driven by fear and misinformation. I guess they haven't read some of the letters that we've submitted, some of the letters that you have submitted on this issue that quote extensively from the frameworks themselves. We have some of those letters. Friends in the media, I'd be happy to give them to you. And we assure you, we're not driven by fear and misinformation. But what frustrates us is the degree to which some members of the media absolutely will not report what is actually in the framework, what is actually in the recommended reading. I challenge you to do that. If you want to present this issue honestly, just report the facts. Just report what's in the framework and what's in the recommended reading. And lastly, I just want to say something else we've also seen as a disturbing trend, as parents have spoken out against this, is attempts to silence their free speech. The Civic Justice Institute has been litigating free speech issues for years and years. If that's happening to you, I know it's happening to some of you who are in the audience today, we want to hear about it. And we want to have the opportunity to represent you. So look forward to connecting with many of you. Thank you for being here. God bless you. And let's all go over and make a difference in just a few minutes here.
Well, thank you, Matthew. All right, next up we've got Dr. Florence Sirik. He came to America at age 17, arriving in Sacramento in 1988 as a young political refugee from communist Romania. Enjoying his newfound freedoms now, Dr. Sirik recalls that on June 12, 1987, while in political prison in Yugoslavia, he heard a live radio broadcast by United States President Ronald Reagan. Speaking from the American side of the Berlin Wall, President Reagan challenged the Soviet leaders, saying, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." As a result, many refugees, including Dr. Sirik, were then able to immigrate to America. Dr. Sirik emigrated directly to California and came to Sacramento on February 17, 1988. Upon his arrival here in Sacramento, Dr. Sirik started his mission to serve the newly arriving Slavic and Eastern European immigrants beginning in 1990. Dr. Sirik, as Executive Director of the Slavic Community Center of Sacramento, Incorporated, and a recognized Slavic American leader. Please help me welcome up Dr. Sirik.
Good morning. On behalf of the Slavic community, I would like to thank the senators. I would like to thank the media, the organizers of this event, and I would like to thank every single one of you that spent your personal time this morning to come here for this important moment in our history. I remember 30 years ago when first Slavic family came from the former Soviet Union. The Iron Curtain was broken once, forever. Now, In Sacramento alone, we have around 200,000 Slavic immigrants, over 1 million in California, and 4.5 million in the United States. We came here to call America our home. We came here to be free. We have 103 churches in Sacramento alone. We have tens of thousands of children. We love this country. We love this state. We love our town. We love Sacramento. But what's going on right now is an experience that we never seen, even in the communist regime. There is no government in the world that put kids to what California is about to do. How in the world you take the minds of the young kids that are prepared to go to school and become educated and be successful, and implement in their minds an unneeded sexual education? Isn't that the job of our parents? I'm a parent myself. I have 6 children, and I believe that I'm the first one that they have to come and ask if they have a question. This is our job as a parent. This is who we are. This is how America moves forward and become the first country in the world to be the refuge of those that escape persecutions of all different kinds. If I would have been given a chance to speak on behalf of millions of immigrants in this state, in this country, I think I will find only few words to tell the Department of Education, and that would be shame on you. Shame on you. This cannot be done to our children. This framework is not for our children. In the last month, I received many phone calls, many meetings. And of course, what ran into my mind first was that it's all right to teach the children at some point, somehow, about some things. But when the books were shown to me, and I spent some time going through the material that is put in those books, shame to those people that are trying to brainwash our children. Shame to those that are spending millions of dollars to destroy the future generation of this country, of this world. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. You know what? Tim read about me hearing President Reagan when I was in a political prison. I fought for my freedom. But I'm very moved about some other words Kennedy on the day of his inauguration said, the words that are staying in my heart for the rest of my life. And today, those words that he never thought that would be more important than ever are shouting loud and clear for all of us. Don't ask what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Ladies and gentlemen, in God we trust. Together we can make a difference. Together we can do more. God bless you, and God bless America. Let's elect people that will represent us, that will be our voice. People like Jamar Jefferson that will run for assembly, and many of you come up and run for offices. Be the voice of our community. God bless you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Sirik. Okay, so last up, but definitely not least this morning, I have a great privilege of introducing somebody that God is using in an incredible way. And I'm just counted a blessing to be getting to know her more and more. Stephanie Yates is the founder of Informed Parents of California. She's a wife and a mother of 3 children in the public school system. Stephanie equips parents to engage at local school boards to fight for parental rights and protection of their kids. Today, the fast-growing group with more than, listen to this, 20,000 members has informed and activated Californians in more than a dozen counties throughout the state. Please help me welcome up Stephanie Yates.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I haven't done this alone, so I'm just going to call some people out. Michelle, where are you? Come on out here, please. Becky, come here.
I'm all wet.
Kelly, can I turn this up?
Closer.
Susan. Closer? Oh, that is closer. Okay, where's Michelle? Michelle, come out here, please. Kelly. Olina. Galanka. Yes. There's so many of you. Who else is here? Linda. Brenda. No, seriously. There are so many. I'm missing a lot. But this is just a few of the people. And Greg Burt, Pastor Tim. Oh, America, and George, he's not here. There are so many people at home right now with their kids and their families and work and everything, but are actively, I know I'm missing some. Who am I missing? Courtney, oh, there you are. The other Courtney too. Aileen, she's not here. Ariel, there's a lot, but I want you to see that this is not just me. We have so many more. Over 100 parents working every day. Come here. Working every day. I know I'm missing somebody. Actively working every day to protect our children and to fight to inform you guys. And we need every single one of you. You guys right here, this is an army that we have to protect our children. And we need to join and unite together. So please reach out to us. We do information meetings. We can help you get equipped in your county, in your school districts. We need to rise up, not just here at the Capitol, but inside our cities, at our school board meetings. We need to flood the district office of the senators and assemblymen, because when you go to their district office, here they're used to it, but not at their district office. Flood their phones daily. Show up to their offices. Write letters. We need to really start putting the legwork in, and we need all of you to do it, and everybody that is watching, we need everybody. There's 6.2 million children out there, and we've just scratched the surface of how many parents are getting informed and families. We need pastors to rise up. Pastor George and Tim, Pastor Jack, Jim, there's so many pastors that are rising up, being bold and courageous and speaking out, but we need more to follow their lead. So I just want to, they say that this health curriculum is supposed to be about their health and their safety, to protect them from pregnancy and STDs and HIV, and to help them find themselves. But how are they helping them find themselves when they're confusing them about who they are, or they could possibly be nothing at all, or introducing them to things that I can't even say because there's kids here. But there's pornographic, child pornography, adult pornography in these books. You guys know what I'm talking about because you've seen the post. The horrific, disgusting stuff that they have in here, all under the disguise of HIV prevention, when they're talking about blood play. Come on. Who are they fooling? And they're trying to say that we don't know what we're talking about. These are the books that they're recommending. And this curriculum and the framework's supposed to be non-biased. And I got a text message today from one of the moms. They Googled the California Department of Ed to find out where it was today. And on the Google search for the California Department of Ed, it says, today, 9 p.m., stand up for the LGBTQ students and inclusive sex ed. If it's non-biased, why aren't they being non-biased and listening to both sides? And if they are to stand up for them, then why are they introducing stuff that's going to put them at great harm? So we need you guys. We know that they're going to pass this. They already have Positive Prevention Plus has already implemented the framework into their curriculum. They have been ignoring us everywhere. We've made so much public comment via email, coming to the board. So we're calling for a statewide sex ed sit-out next week, May 17th. Pull your kids. Go on to our website, informedparents.org. Go onto the tab and it will give you the sex ed sit-out site. You can register. We need you to register because they're lying to us and they're deceiving about how many kids are actually being pulled out for the sit-outs, and we need to go to get a good count, okay? So register. When you register, you'll get an email and it will give you the letter to the principal that you send in about why we're doing this sit-out. And then after that, you can send an email to the captain of that county. And we're doing it by county, and we're meeting at the county Department of Education in your county. And if your county is not on the map, get your county on that map. We need the whole entire state of California, every single county, to be on that map. And I know all of you are coming from across California. So please do that May 17th, which is next Friday, sex ed sit out. And I just want to thank all of you for coming. And don't let, summer's coming. And I'm going to tell you, the other side works really hard because they know that we're taking the vacations with our kids and we're busy with sports and all of that. But we need to stop at nothing and let nothing interfere about what's going on, because don't let them fool you. There is a war on our children and on our family, and we need to battle up and suit up for that war and get in that war, because it will happen with or without us, and they will stop at nothing to get our kids. But they don't realize what God put inside of us, moms and dads, that we will stop at nothing to protect our kids. And remember, we have what they want, and that's our kids. So if we don't give them our kids, then they don't have schools. So if they're not going to listen to us, then we yank our kids and we shut down those schools until they start listening to us. They are our public servants. This needs to be a parent revolution, and we show our kids that we will do anything to protect them. So go across the street. If you have not put your name in, go put your name in and make public comment and let your voice be heard. They've called out all their people. There's Planned Parenthood over there and all kinds of activist groups over there, and those are the people that they're listening to. We need to show them that our voice is louder and there's more of us. So thank you. Yes, peaceful.
As we head over to the Department of Education, where each of you are hopefully going to be able to make your public comment. If you haven't done so, make sure you get over there and register to give public comment, but it's important that you do so. You have a voice, and we got to take back the public square, and that starts by us voicing our opinion right over there. So Brenda, you have some advice for us.
Yeah, real quick, how many of you are planning to give public comment today? Oh, awesome. Okay, now I just have a couple words of advice as a board member, okay? That when you give your public comments, first of all, they're saying in the California Department of Ed, they're dismissing us, saying we're ignorant and don't know what we're talking about because the framework is not graphic, it's not pornographic, there's nothing in it that's visual. However, so you want to reference books that Stephanie just held up, and if you're going to talk about one of these books, ask Stephanie to borrow it so you can hold it up, or have somebody next to you hold it up while you're speaking about it. Because let me tell you something, don't assume that everybody on this committee has read that entire framework. Don't even assume it. That's right. Okay? Because they probably haven't, they have not read these books themselves. Let's educate them. Okay? Second of all, personal testimony is powerful. You can never argue with anyone's personal testimony. If you had something happen to you and your child at school, speak it out. If you have a personal testimony about yourself, maybe you were I know for me, I was a tomboy. And if I would have gotten information like this, I would have thought, oh my gosh, when I heard about menstruation, I would have I don't want that. Give me the puberty blockers, right? I mean, what 9-year-old girl wouldn't say that? Like, for heaven's sakes, that sounds horrific. But I'm just saying, be honest, be yourself. Nobody can argue with personal testimony. We want to stay factual. We don't want to berate them. We don't want to put guilt trips on them or disrespect, because they do have a position of honor, and we do need to give respect that position. And I think Pastor Tim might want to say a few other words. Oh, one other thing. If you are a person of another language, anybody giving a testimony who's going to be speaking in another language, Slavic, Hispanic, if I talked to some people today and they said, oh, no, I can't speak, I'm not fluent enough in English. We need you. We need you, because they need to see that we are multiple cultures, multiple ethnicities, multiple languages. Do not worry about if your English is broken. That's beautiful. That's who we are. Okay? And if you need to speak it in your own language and you don't think you can provide your own interpreter, or they might provide an interpreter for you, but we have a Hispanic interpreter right there. If you need an interpreter, they will give you still your 60 seconds and then another 60 seconds for the interpretation. So you will not be taken down on your time. Okay? And we do have the Office of Civil Rights. We have already put in a complaint against the California Department of Education on the federal level. It's in process right now. And when you are speaking, just know that everything you say is transcript. Okay? And it is recorded and it is in written transcript. So people go back, media goes back, and they will look at those things that you say. So we want to make sure that we're factual and on target. You can say the chapter if you know it. A lot of you have a lot of knowledge.
Thank you.
Go for it.
Thank you.
I just forgot one more thing. We have brochures. We have them in English, Spanish, Russian. What other languages? Korean. We have them in multiple languages, and if there's not a language that you need, we need translators. So, and get these out and put them on car. What?
You're standing on your tippy.
Oh. Put them on car doors, on cars. Put them, knock on window. Give them to everybody. Pass them out. Put them on cars and everything. Thank you.
You guys give Stephanie a big hand. She does such an amazing job. And just to follow up with what Brenda Lebsack said, when you go in there to give your testimony, like she said, testimony and what's actually in the books, remember that you are armed with facts. And what they want to do is paint you out to be just a bunch of emotional people. And really, truly, what's going on is it's the other side of this issue that's coming from an emotional standpoint. We're actually coming in with facts. We have the facts, and that's what we need to present. So testimonies are facts. What's in the books are facts. Stick to the facts, and you'll be good. And now, if you guys don't mind, let's go ahead and close in prayer, shall we? All right, Father in heaven, we come before you with grateful hearts once again to know you as God, to know that you have a plan for our life, to know that there is a way you want us to live, and that you give us the strength, the courage, the boldness, the kindness, the patience, the love, the gentleness, the self-control, everything that we need to live out our lives the way you've called us to live. You've given it to us by your Spirit. And so today, Lord, be with us as we go across the street. Speak through us, that you would have your way. Lord, that you would use us mightily today. Today is the day for us to not be silent. Today is the day for us to open our mouths and speak truth across the street today. And so use us for your glory, Father. We pray these things, and I pray them in the name of my Lord, my Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Thank you all.
About the brochures, we have them in Russian and English here. We have them in other languages, but they have to be ordered on the website. So you can go on informedparents.org and you can order them. There's a tab to order the brochures, and we'll get them out to you. Okay?